Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonya Girdler. I'm a Professor of Occupational Therapy and Director of the Curtin Autism Research Group and Program 3 Director of the Living with Autism Cooperative Research Centre in Western Australia. I'm in Perth, which is a long way from Stockholm, but I always feel that part of me belongs in Stockholm. It is a beautiful city full of beautiful people, and it is a great honour to speak at this important event today, the 10-year anniversary conference of KIND. My talk today is going to focus on community and strengths-based approaches in autism, and in sharing some of our work in this space, I'm going to share the story of a wonderful young man, Mr. Liam Pitchin. I would like to thank Liam and his mother Tanya for their generosity in sharing their story and their journey. So to begin, Liam was a mostly happy child who wanted to be able to do everything that his older brother could do. He wanted to be independent, but Liam was unable to recognise when things were too difficult for him, struggling to put on his own socks when he was only 3, and invariably having a meltdown when he couldn't do that, or having a meltdown because his mum insisted on doing it for him. At 25 months of age, Liam went to speech pathology because he wasn't saying any more than 3 words. And at 5 years of age, a psychologist described Liam as having quirky language. Liam regularly lined up his beloved toy cars, and heaven help anyone who moved one even slightly. By the time he was 3, he could name every single car on the road, and he loved watching Top Gear. Liam didn't engage in any imaginative play. When Liam started school, despite encouragement to just have a go, he was reluctant to try new activities he thought he might not do well. Teachers insisting that he should just give things a go caused meltdowns. Liam enjoyed being with family and friends and doing things with them. Just before his 8th birthday, Liam was diagnosed with high-functioning autism. Like 164,000 other Australians, Liam is autistic. Our most recent national survey data from 2015 demonstrates that the pattern of autism in Australia is similar to that of other developed countries. The majority of autistics are aged under the age of 25, and males are 4 times as likely as females to be autistic. And there is much work to be done in improving outcomes in adulthood. When Liam was in year 8 or 9 at school, he attended a social skills training program. Liam learnt to share stories, take criticism in a constructive manner, and how to give feedback. He learnt to interact with his peers in a positive and non-judgmental way. These types of interventions can be important in supporting autistic teenagers in their social skills development. Adolescence literally means to grow up. It is a transitional stage of physical and psychological development, and a time when peer and social interactions become more important. The social difficulties associated with autism, compounded by the common comorbidities such as social anxiety, means adolescence can be a particularly difficult period for autistic young people. Something I have experienced personally when travelling is that culture determines social norms, and these in turn dictate what is acceptable social behaviour and communication patterns in a particular culture. To date, there has been little consideration of the role of culture in social skills training interventions in autism. Critical in transferring a social skills training intervention program internationally is considering the target culture, and in our case, the culture of the great land down under, Australia. So to give you a quick Aussie cultural lesson, Australia is a land of immigrants and one of the most culturally and linguistically diverse populations on the planet. We are irreverent, egalitarian, and our language is full of slang and sarcasm. We are obsessed with something called Australian rules football. And we have a unique, and some would say incomprehensible sense of humour, with self-depreciation being a staple. We make fun of ourselves and our friends, and our humour is so confusing they publish guides for visitors. And this and all significantly influences how Australians communicate and interact socially. In 2016, we began a project in Australia translating the CONTACT program, a social skills training program evaluated by Sven and his team in Sweden, in the largest efficacy trial in its field internationally, to the Australian culture and service context. This project between KIND and My Research CARG and the Autism Association of Western Australia was made possible by a generous donation we received from the Stan Perrin Charitable Foundation. But why choose Contact as a social skills training program to adapt to Australia? Australian culture and social norms are somewhat European. More than 3 million Europeans immigrated to Australia between the 1940s and the 1960s, and this immigration has had a significant impact on our culture. Strangely, Australian and Swedish culture are somewhat similar, and Contact has shown efficacy in the largest randomised controlled trial with Swedish teenagers. Contact is manualised and evidence-based. It is underpinned by theories and guiding principles and provides a framework which is easily adaptable to cultural context. Contact employs games, role plays and discussions, all of which can be tailored to a target culture. And essentially Sven is incredibly generous in sharing his work. In 2016, we embarked on an ambitious 4-phase project, which we have now finished, translating and adapting Contact to meet the needs of autistic Australian teenagers, evaluating its feasibility and acceptability in a pilot study, and then evaluating its efficacy in a randomised controlled trial, comparing the efficacy of Contact to an active control group. We have published the findings from our feasibility study earlier this year in the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders. The feasibility study resulted in the finalisation of the Australian Contact manuals in preparation for their evaluation in a randomised control trial. We have also published the protocol of our randomised control trial in Trials. This outlines the methods and the design of a randomised control trial, and this paper is available through open access. In designing a randomised control trial to evaluate the efficacy of Contact in Australian autistic teenagers, we aim to design a study addressing many of the previously noted limitations of evaluation studies of social skills training programs in autism, limitations we identified through a systematic review of the published literature to date. Based on our review, our primary research question in Phase 4 was, after controlling for social context, can Contact support autistic adolescents in achieving their personally meaningful social goals? This diagram presents the design of our study, which is the gold standard of research design. After screening 158 autistic teenagers, we reached our target sample of 90 participants, which were randomly assigned to either the Contact intervention or an active control, a cooking program called Super Chef. Super Chef was specifically designed for the purposes of this study by a team of occupational therapists experienced in working with autistic teenagers. Super Chef is a group-based cooking program of the same length and dosage as Contact, enabling us to control for social context in evaluating the efficacy of Contact. Because maybe the benefits we have seen from previous evaluations of social skills training programs with autistic adolescents are the result of exposing teenagers to a supportive social context, rather than the explicit teaching of social skills per se. The design of our study allowed us to consider this for the first time. Given previous research had almost exclusively focused on parent-reported outcomes, we wanted to take an adolescent-centric view of the impact of Contact. So in this study, our primary outcome was adolescents' self-reported achievement of their personally meaningful social goals, which were measured via goal attainment scaling. Data was collected at baseline, post-test, and follow-up, and our primary analysis point was follow-up. In analysing the primary outcome between groups at the primary data analysis point, follow-up, we observed a statistically significant difference between groups in the number of personally meaningful social goals achieved by autistic teenagers, observing a small to moderate effect. While there was no significant difference between the Super Chef and Contact groups at post-test, with both groups improving between baseline and post-test, participants in the Contact study continued their trajectory of improvement, continuing to achieve their personally meaningful social goals beyond the intervention period, with a significant difference apparent at follow-up. I'm going to show a short video that talks about the impact of Contact from the perspective of teenagers and their parents, and it also features a couple of professors. Contact is a social skills training program for children and teenagers with autism spectrum disorders. It aims to build their social skills and then support them to generalise that to their everyday lives. I've never really been good at social stuff. Doing Contact made it a lot easier to keep in mind the dynamic of the people around you, to just kind of remember that you're not the only person in the room.
Before I did Contact, I was very nervous around other people. I hardly talked to them. I didn't want to talk to them. And now, like, after, I feel like I still feel nervous, but I feel a bit more confident being around them and talking to them.
People can come together and be themselves and feel safe and accepted. It made it a lot easier to connect with people.
It was the first ever activity where my daughter has happily gone every single week to. For her to come out every week with a smile on her face told me that it was something really special.
When they come in for the first time, they're really not eager to talk to me or discuss things. But the second time that they come in, I can see that they're just talking and they just want to tell me about everything that's happening in their life.
We teach everything from social rules and norms and how to read others' minds and intentions and emotions and to conflict solving.
I think it's given me a lot of perspective on kind of how to interact with others in a group scenario, which is what I needed going into it, I think.
I feel a bit more comfortable and like knowing what to say and stuff. It's all about having the confidence. When you go to find a work, you need to be able to talk about the abilities or the strengths that you have. If you want to come to uni, it's about being able to move around in a big social environment and just coping with it.
When playing social situations, I'm yards ahead of where I was before I did the group.
For her to be able to break that down and understand where those difficulties were and that it was okay that some things were difficult and this is why and this is how I can do it different.
It's just giving them more tools in their toolbox, so when they're in a social situation and they just needed help, perhaps they can use the tools.
So we're going to have a lot of data to really understand what's really going on in this program, what sort of interventions we can develop going forward for teenagers with autism that are really, really effective.
The more we understand and the more we help them, I think the world in general is just going to benefit hugely.
The thing that made this research really possible was having a big funding so we can give the program to the kids for free.
It's been key. Without this funding, we would not be able to do this research. Undoubtedly, we would not be able to do this Contact study. It's hard to put into words how grateful I am for the funding.
The donation makes Contact and Contact research possible in Australia. I'm sure we'll see very interesting scientific results, and also that makes a difference for the children and the adolescents and their families.
The fact that this was a thing that we were able to do and a thing we were able to experience means that we can keep going in the right direction in the sense of autism being more normalised. We're normal people too, and we need to be seen as that. So back to our story of Liam. Liam's mother, Tanya, said Liam started using the computer when he was 3. She started letting him when he was 4. As a teenager, Liam loved to code. To Liam, coding is creative and productive at the same time. In Liam's words, with computing, everything is black and white. It either works or it doesn't. There is no confusion. The computer tells me if I can't do something, and there are codes and coding standards that tell me exactly what to do. Like many autistic individuals, Liam has an affinity for technology. Over the evolution of our understanding of autism and in developing interventions, there has been a lot of focus on those factors associated with the impairments or challenges of autism. There are a few frameworks that present a balanced understanding of functioning that capture both the challenges and the strengths of autistic individuals that can be inclusive of a neurodiverse approach. The International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health is a notable exception. The ICF looks at disability holistically. While it considers impairments and participation restrictions, it also considers factors within an individual's environment and personal factors within the individual that either facilitate or pose a barrier to functioning. The ICF highlights that disability is not just a health problem. It is a complex phenomenon reflecting an interaction between the features of a person's body and the aspects of their society in which they live. But the ICF has 1,685 categories, making it somewhat unwieldy as a framework for research and understanding the functioning of individuals. But because of an extensive international project led by KIND, we now have the ICF core sets for autism spectrum disorder. These core sets have identified those categories most relevant to understanding functioning in autism. These core sets have been an enormous help to researchers such as myself. This work also highlighted that there is wide recognition of the strengths of autistic individuals, with an international survey of experts of autism revealing that 92% perceived that autistic individuals had specific strengths and abilities. These skills and abilities include high levels of attention to detail, a preference to work on repeated or monotonous tasks, mathematical abilities, visual perceptual abilities, and intellectual functions. Like Liam recognised from the age of 3, these skills are really helpful when working with computers. These skills and abilities also provide opportunities for strengths-based interventions with autistic teenagers. We have found that technology gets autistic young adults excited. And for 5 years now, we've been working on a line of research looking at how we can leverage these skills and abilities in technology-based activities. So to give you a bit of context, Curtin University, where I work, is one of Australia's largest universities. We have a student enrolment of nearly 60,000 students. But more specifically, we have one of the largest science and engineering programs of any university in Australia. We have a lot of computer labs, and we have a lot of fancy toys. We also have a Vice-Chancellor and University Executive who actively supports our autism research and community programs. Nearly 10 years ago, we started up a Coder Dojo on our main campus, and we started with around 7 students, or ninjas. Coder Dojo is a model that combines a social environment with computer coding and technology activities, just perfect for autistic teenagers. We hold our Coder Dojo in our computer science building on Saturdays during the school year, and we are very lucky that our university lets us have the run of the place. The facilitators are Curtin University staff members, students and parents, and today we have around 200 autistic ninjas. While we know that these clubs get autistic ninjas engaged, you can see it. We wanted to understand what was happening and what impact our program was having on our ninjas. So for nearly 5 years, we have been pursuing a line of research aimed at providing recommendations for the delivery of ICT programs for autistic adolescents, and ongoing research to evaluate the effectiveness of this program in preparing autistic adolescents for work. In our first study, which aimed to provide recommendations for the delivery of strength-based ICT programs for autistic adolescents, we conducted separate focus groups and interviews with 23 autistic adolescents, 24 parents, and 20 facilitators who participated in our programs. Detailed qualitative analysis of our data revealed 3 main areas which were important to strengths-based ICT clubs for autistic adolescents: characteristics of facilitators, activities, and the environment. It is important to have facilitators who have shared interests with the ninjas, are consistent, and adopt an individualised and collaborative approach. Activities incorporating the ninjas' interests with visual components that allow for choice and align with ninjas' skill development and career goals engage the ninjas in activities. An environment of acceptance with no pressure where all the ninjas are autistic is also key. This study highlighted the importance of an individualised approach, considering environmental and personal factors in strengths-based approaches in autism aligned with the ICF core sets. We have published this framework in a report which is now freely available on the internet, and we have several other publications pending. We also surveyed the parents of our ninjas, which we have published in the Journal of Autism and Developmental Disorders. We used a component of the ICF core sets developed by KIND to inform this survey, and what we found was that our strengths-based program positively impacted participants' sense of belonging, confidence and self-esteem, health and well-being, social relationships and interactions, and their activities and participation. As one parent reported in the comments box of our survey, Alex has developed his skills in the area he is passionate about. Without this, it would be difficult to see a positive future in job placement as he struggles in school and is not good at physical work. He is rather good at computing, and now we can see a bright future where he could make a significant contribution. Everyone benefits. As part of our strengths-based program, we also organise work experience placements of between 5 to 10 days with ICT organisations for our autistic adolescents. We undertook a small qualitative study interviewing adolescents, their parents and employers, and used a grounded theory approach to understand this experience. What we found in this study is that there are key factors contributing to the success of these placements. Work experience helped these autistic teenagers in preparing for the workplace, in harnessing their strengths and interests, and in developing work-related skills. The benefits of these placements included adolescents gaining insight into the workplace, helping them recognise and realise their potential. The teenagers also got to work as part of a team, helping them to see the pathway ahead. The findings articulate a framework which could potentially inform future transition interventions for autistic adolescents. So when Liam finished high school, he came to Curtin University to study computer science. And like 80 other autistic students on our campus, Liam joined our specialist peer mentoring program. Liam says his mentor was great. He knew him before he went to uni, and it was great having someone he knew to check in with him on a weekly basis. Liam was able to ask his mentor things, and Liam was also familiar with Curtin campus because he had attended our Coda Dojo clubs on campus, which meant university wasn't so scary. I'm going to show you a short video which talks about our specialist peer mentoring program from the perspective of mentors and the mentees involved in our program.
The Curtin mentoring program is basically a social gathering for people who have autism or on the autistic spectrum.
I went to a really small school and a class of 8 people, and so going into such a massive school, massive university, was very difficult. It was a massive change.
In the first year of uni, I didn't have anything or anybody. I didn't have any friends, and socializing with this many people on a pretty relatively small space was fairly hard.
So I wanted to become a Curtin specialist mentor because I have an uncle who's got Asperger's, and I really saw that he struggled.
I've always wanted to be a mentor, and this was a great program for that. At the same time, it allowed me to learn a bit more about the autism spectrum and also people on the autism spectrum.
I thought that I really wanted to be involved in it because I think that everyone has a right to education and a right to not have like a blanket way of learning.
I know, like, for a person with Asperger's, if you're on your own and it's your first day of uni, it is really, really, really daunting. And as soon as you meet someone, it just gets so much better.
My main concern with university has been not making any friends throughout my studies. My specialist mentor helps out with this by finding me small social tasks to do each week that help slowly build up my confidence and help make new friends.
It's great to be able to just catch up and have a coffee and talk about what is going on in life in general. It's been a great support to know that someone's there.
For actual people, it's actually hard to understand why we're so stilted. And we're not actually that stilted, it's just them who are being stilted against us.
I think I had a really one-dimensional view of autism, and I really didn't understand that people with autism have these incredible strengths.
I've learnt that everyone is different. I've learnt that things I may take for granted may be quite hard for people with the autism spectrum condition.
I hope to one day make an important invention or discovery in the field of mathematics, science or engineering that will have a positive impact on the world.
Well, I've gained professional skills which I can take into my career. I've been able to develop communication skills, leadership skills, and also oral presentation skills, which are highly beneficial for me.
I get to be normal in a room full of people who are trying to understand me. It's great.
So we have published a paper looking at the underlying framework of our peer mentoring program. The important mechanisms of this program were the match between the mentor and the mentee, communication and social interaction between the mentors and the mentee facilitated the development of the social skills necessary for participation at university. Problem solving was a strategy facilitating engagement in university studies and helped in overcoming organisational barriers. The mentors highlighted the importance of training that they received and supervision from the program coordinators in supporting their mentoring role. We also conducted a mixed method study, finding that peer mentoring fostered the communication skills of autistic university students. These manuals for our peer mentoring program are freely available through our Autism Cooperative Research Centre website, and you can go there and download them. Our peer mentoring program has increased the retention rate of autistic students at Curtin University from just over 60% to close to 90%, significantly increasing their employment opportunities. Many, like Liam, have gone on to find great jobs. So where is Liam now? Liam works as a quality assurance tester with Hexagon Mining in Perth, whose parent company, Hexagon AB's head office is based in Stockholm. All good things come back to Stockholm. Liam really enjoys software testing. In Liam's words, he gets to break other people's stuff all day long, find the bits of programs that are broken, and he gets paid for it. It's a win-win. Liam is a confident young man, and he has spoken about his experience as an autistic young adult at a parents' event with Sven. I would like to thank Liam for allowing me to share his story today. I love this picture because to me it tells a story. Sven looks a little tired, and honestly that's probably how he felt. Sven has made many trips to Australia over the last 6 years. He has spoken to thousands of interested community members, been involved in nearly a dozen PhD student projects, and trained over 60 clinicians in contact. When Sven comes to Australia, he works very hard. You may have seen throughout my presentation that I underline the authors of our published papers in red. And those of you who have high levels of attention to detail will see that Sven Volte features as an author on most of these papers. That is because all of these projects have been made possible because of Sven's generosity in sharing either his work or his wisdom with our Autism Research Group in Australia. Sven gave us contact, and he's been closely involved in supervising PhD students evaluating our Coda Dojo program and peer mentoring program. Well, good professors publish a lot of papers, and that is something Sven does exceptionally well. Great professors make a difference to the world. To me, Sven, you will always be the best example of what a great professor should be. From me and my group, and the thousands of people whose lives you've changed in Australia, Tins and Tack will never be enough. Congratulations to you and the rest of Kind on 10 wonderful years, and I look forward to being part of the next 10. Tack så mycket.